But wow. Doberman? Daberman? Wow. Wow. Gary Dauberman's Salem's Lot adaptation is like biting into a well-made burger, but finding out that the chef forgot to add all the toppings. It's a good, solid meal, but it lacks the extra flavor that fans of Stephen King's classic horror novel and the 1979 miniseries might be expecting. Dauberman has proven his directing horror chops with Annabelle Comes Home and has worked on Stephen King's work before, writing the adapted It movies Chapter 1 and 2, and the very underappreciated Swamp Thing TV series. But tackling Salem's Lot, a book heavy on atmosphere, themes, and character depth, in under 2 hours is no easy task. Unfortunately, this shorter, streamlined version leaves a lot on the cutting room floor, and you can feel it. Hi, and welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for Salem's Lot. So talking about the story, we follow Ben Mears, played by Lewis Pullman, a writer who returns to the town of Jerusalem's Lot, aka Salem's Lot, only to find out that the place is plagued by evil. The film moves at a quicker pace than the older miniseries does, driving right into the creepy goings-on with little room for the slow burn King is famous for. In a way, that's good. No filler, but it does mean that some key moments feel rushed. The town's descent into vampiric madness, the personal stories of the townsfolk, all condensed, meaning we lose some of that haunting tension. It's a bite-sized version of what Salem's Lot can be, and if you've seen the 1979 miniseries, you'll notice the difference in scope. The action is definitely there though. Doberman leans into the horror action side of things, and the vampires, they're ferocious, fast-moving, more animalistic than human, which is a cool shift from the slow methodical creepiness of the earlier adaptations. The movie doesn't shy away from the gore or the supernatural battles that ensue, but it's more a jump scare fest than a slow building sense of dread. Fans of horror that keeps you on the edge of your seat will enjoy this, but it sacrifices some of the book's more thematic depth. The idea of the town rotting from the inside, the slow corruption of the innocent. It is there in the background, sure, but the movie prefers to focus on the vampires over the people. And speaking of people, let's talk about the actors. Lewis Pullman as Ben Mears is fine. He doesn't quite command the screen the same way that David Soul did in the miniseries, but he's believable as the reluctant hero. There's a sense that he's trying to capture Ben's haunted, nostalgic side, but the limited runtime gives him little space to really breathe life into the role. The standout for me, Jordan Preston Carter as Mark Petrie, who is the young boy who becomes one of Ben's key allies. He brings a real emotional weight to the character, managing to make the transition from the new kid on the block to the vampire fighting hero feel quite natural, actually. Carter nails the vulnerability and the bravery and the honesty. I would have loved so much more of this arc. There's a lot you can glean from his background story, from how his character acts and how Jordan portrays it. He was so easy to root for, and the one I was basically rooting for the whole way through the film. Bill Camp as Matthew Burke is another highlight. He doesn't get as much screen time as you'd hope, but when he's on, he brings a solid, grounded presence to the role. His interactions with the younger characters feel authentic, and he adds a touch of much needed gravitas. And then there's Alfred Woodard, taking on the role of Dr. Cody, originally a male character in the book and miniseries. Woodard is as talented as ever, bringing a fierce intelligence to the role. But again, the film's brevity robs her character of the complexity it deserves. Every time this film starts shining, I get disappointed because it's just 2 hours long, or it's shorter than that. It feels like a missed opportunity. Honestly, Woodard could have elevated this role even further with more material. Digging into the monster creations, the vampires in Salem's Lot, the movie, they look great, terrifying, with a feral, almost zombie-like quality. These vampires are nightmarish, predatory, with sunken eyes. Barlow, the main vampire, has a menacing Nosferatu, you know that one, inspired look, and practical effects do their job of making him feel like a legitimate threat. But here's the thing. The original Salem's Lot miniseries had a much stronger, creepier build-up for Barlow. The 2024 version shows its cards way too soon, missing the sense of anticipation and terror. It was a weird mix of you know what's coming, so you want the gore and mayhem to happen already, because the film has already skipped a lot of the character developments and depth. So in the end, you are left wanting to watch the visual spectacle the film has to offer because the characters are so small. They're not fleshed out enough. Visually, the film's dark, grim atmosphere works well. The town feels claustrophobic, eerie, but it also lacks some of that personality the town had in the miniseries. The themes of isolation and small town decay are present, but without much of an impact. By focusing more on the horror action, we lose some of the deeper dread that comes from watching the whole town slowly fall apart as the vampire and his minion gets their hands into it. In the end, Gary Doberman's Salem's Lot is a decent, enjoyable horror movie if you're not looking for something too faithful to the novel or the miniseries. It's a faster, punchier take that hits some good moments, but ultimately falls short of capturing the full scope and depth of King's story. Now, I actually did enjoy this. I might sound like I'm coming down really hard on it, but the comparison is there to make, and I have to as a critic. But as a one-time enjoyable movie, this does have all the markings of a decent horror action, not heavy on the horror, but heavy on some of the gore, some of the tenseness, and the acting was a lot of fun. I'm giving it 3 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
And you got one.
It's solid, but for those familiar with the longer versions of Salem's Lot, it feels like a trimmed-down adaptation that leaves you hungry for more. Maybe that's the real horror here, all that potential that's left untapped. Have you read the book? Have you seen the miniseries? What did you think of the film? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Maybe you absolutely loved it and give this 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10, however you rate it. I do think I would go back and watch this again because it was fun. Although not in depth, I didn't need to spend the whole day watching a miniseries, for example. I could just have a one and done dusted. Without thinking too much, I don't even need to concentrate that much. However, if you're looking for a more faithful adaptation, I would suggest reading the book again. So let me know your thoughts. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.